Madam, we are live. Chitra ma'am? Hello? Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, we are live, ma'am.
Yes, shall we start?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. With the blessings of Pujya Mahaswamiji, myself Chaitra HK, Assistant Professor, Department of CSE, SJB Institute of Technology. It's my privilege to welcome all for this webinar on tips to crack interviews as a fresher. I take this opportunity to welcome today's speaker, Mr. Sanket Sahu. Mr. Sanket Sahu, CEO and co-founder of GeekyAnts. Mr. Sanket Sahu has built a QBasic imitation of MS-DOS to train people with command prompt at the age of 8. Sanket has come a long way since and identifies as an open source guy who loves to experiment with new tech. I welcome Mr. Sanket Sahu for this web. Next, we have with us Mr. Atul Ranjan. I welcome Mr. Sanket Sahu for this webinar. Sir, audio not available.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Great. So thank you so much, ma'am.
Welcome, Mr.
I'm really
Sanket
excited to
Sahu.
speak to. Yeah, I'm really excited to speak to the students of my college. It feels like speaking to my younger self. And let's see how this goes.
Yes, thank you. Next, we have with us Mr. Atul Ranjan, CTO and co-founder of GeekyAnts. Atul Ranjan, an expert problem solver who has hands-on experience for this webinar.
Okay, looks like there's some connection problem. Yeah, so let's get Atul here. Digvijay.
Yes.
So hello viewers, I'm Atul. So me and Sanket actually graduated from SJBIT back in 2011, and like slowly we started doing R&D stuff, and then we we did a lot of things, we here and there, and then we burnt our hands and learned a lot of things on the way. And here we are, 230 people strong as a company, and we love experiments uh, and things like that. So, and I'm very excited to speak to students of my college, from where I graduated almost 9 years ago. Hello again.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Atul Ranjan. I'm proud
Thank you, ma'am.
to I'm proud to say that both are alumni of our department. They are graduated in Computer Science and Engineering from SJB Institute of Technology in the year 2011. And we have one more speaker for today's webinar, Mr. Digvijay Wanchoo. Mr. Digvijay Wanchoo is an assistant manager in marketing and communication in GeekyAnts. He is a public speaker, an orator, and a writer. He handles the social front of GeekyAnts. I welcome Mr. Digvijay Wanchoo for this webinar.
Thank you so much for having me, ma'am. It's an honor and a pleasure. And I'm really
Thank
excited to speak to all the students here today.
Thank you, sir. GeekyAnts, a software company and a product studio that builds mobile and web apps, engages with the developer community, and has a ton of contributions in the field of React and Flutter. I also take this opportunity to welcome our HOD sir, Dr. Krishna A.N. Welcome you, sir. And we have with us Professor Umesh V., Director, HRD Department. Welcome you, sir. And we have with us our department alumni coordinator, Mrs. Rupa MJ, Associate Professor. Welcome you, ma'am, for this webinar. And also welcome all the participants from various engineering disciplines for this webinar. Now I will hand over the session to the key speakers. Yes, over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. On behalf of GeekyAnts, I would like to welcome all the viewers on YouTube to this discussion. I would like to extend a very, very warm thanks to the faculty of SJBIT for having us over here today. And also Sanket, Atul, welcome to this discussion. I think today we are going to have a pretty informative talk, and which will be really helpful for all the students who are now about to sit in placement interviews or about to graduate from their college and get out in the industry and look for a job.
Right.
So, Sanket,
yeah.
would you
Sure,
like
sure,
to
brother.
set the
Yeah.
premise very quickly?
Before that, I would like to say a big hello to all the people of Computer Science Department, especially Krishna sir, Rupa ma'am. We were in college when they were the faculty members, and me and Atul, we talk about it a lot, the college days, and how it was like the wonderful 4 years of our lives. And I can see that there are many people where we were like 9 years ago, and the sort of confusion or the decisions or where the life is going to take us and all those such questions, I can relate to it and empathize. It just feels like I'm giving tips or speaking to my younger self, and like after 9 years or maybe 9 year younger myself, what things I would say to myself. I'm going to talk about that, and including Atul as well. Yeah, Atul, you want to add something?
So yeah, hello everyone, and thank you, Digvijay, for having us here. And obviously, it feels really, nostalgic to, think about ourselves, what we were 9 years ago, and then what our mindset was, and maybe we can give tips to such students, those who are actually listening to us right now, and hopefully that helps them being, that makes them a little confident when they start actually attending interviews and like going into the corporate world. So it feels really nice.
That is so good to hear, because I can only imagine how it must be to talk to students and know that you've been in their place at one point of time in your life, and now that you're out there and there are people who are just going to follow the same path that you have in your past. And I think it's a good thing, and it's really, I mean, it's really fortunate for them that we have they have such people like both of you to guide them through, and who knows how many of them might become entrepreneurs and become technical experts and really make a name for themselves. So I think this is a really good initiative that the college has made.
I wouldn't say, to the students that actually follow our path, we are here to give certain tips and we are here to share our experiences so that they can learn from that probably, and then choose their own path, create their own journey.
Right. So very quickly, I just want to make a few things really clear out here. So this discussion is not just for students of the CSE department. This is going to be a general discussion on how you can fare well in interviews when sitting in one. And also, I would like to mention that if we'll be opening the panel to questions from the students as well in a little while. So if you have any questions that you might want to ask, you can very well post your comments, post your questions in the YouTube live chat comments, and we'll be looking at all of your questions from there and answering them one by one, as many as we can. So I guess, Sanket, Atul, we should kick off this discussion by addressing the biggest elephant in the room. Since I was also at a time a CSE graduate, and when I was sitting in my interviews, there was this one thought in my head that I used to continuously have, which was that am I expected to know, to be technically good or a technical expert when I sit in an interview for the first time? So I guess a simpler way to put this question is that, as interviewers, how much technical knowledge do you expect from a fresher? I mean, are they supposed to know everything from day one when they're sitting in that interview?
So the answer is no, definitely not. Nobody knows everything from day one, right? It's only you can show off your skills as in terms of, say, your logical ability, your algorithm, how you approach a certain problem. And I would say that during the 4 years, even before that, when you're entering this journey of corporates and a new phase of your life, right? Before that, you have enough time to work on your skills, try doing a lot of things on the side, technical, non-technical, and that adds a lot of value. So it depends. Not everyone is the same. I started coding very early, but on the other side, Atul started quite late in his journey, but we're here, right? So it's not the same thing for everyone, but I would say just keep working on your skills, look for what you love, technical, non-technical, both. Yeah.
So
Atul, your thoughts?
to add to what Sanket said actually, you should actually have basic logical ability and problem solving skills. But to add to that, if you have experience with certain tech stack, with certain technologies where you find yourself capable, that adds a lot of values, and obviously that is a plus for any employer, where if they are looking for certain technological background in the candidate, that adds a lot of value. But it's not actually a must as a fresher when you are starting to look for your career.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
But having some experience with any of the things that matches with the company always helps, I would say. It's not like you should just go there with having a good aptitude and attitude, right? If you have a lot of bandwidth to do a bunch of things before you start getting interviewed by companies.
Right. So how much would you weigh the two things? I mean, attitude and aptitude on one hand and technical knowledge on the other hand. So what's the ratio? What was the ideal ratio that you look for in a candidate?
Both are equally important. We value them equally, even a bit. Like if the technical knowledge is on a bit, it's not that great. Attitude is way more important. That if the attitude is good, and the candidate, if the candidate has the uh, capability to learn new things or have that mindset, then they can learn. We have had a lot of people with great attitude and average technical skills, and we groomed them. So attitude, aptitude, both are important. Sometimes attitude is more important than aptitude and technical knowledge, I would say.
Right.
And when I like to add to what again Sanket said, uh, whenever we interview freshers, if they have an experience with like solving problems end to end, that adds a lot of values, and that shows a lot of, I mean, that gives an impression about that how much they love to experiment, how much they love to explore things on their own. And as Sanket said, we like value like self-learning ability as well in the candidates, where if they can learn new things on their own, that gives us a good confidence on the candidate.
Mhm. Right. So I think this is a good start for all the students out there watching us. That
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to be technically. You need to be technically strong, but you don't have to know everything from day one to land a job in the company. Because at the end of the day, you are still a fresher, and such are the expectations set that put you in a spot where we know as a company, hiring company, that you are a fresher. So we don't expect you to be the best at what you do, because that's what learning on the job means, and that's learning is a thing that continues throughout your life. So I guess
Exactly.
that's a good way to sum it up.
Exactly. So, and also every company has their own like training modules set up and things like that. So, if the candidate can learn, if the candidate is a fast learner, and again, that gives a lot of confidence to the interviewer when they are interviewing the candidates. So, interviewers actually look for such capabilities within the candidates as well. So it's not just the like hardcore technical knowledge. They
Mhm.
also look at things like learning ability, what is your attitude towards the problem, what is your
Mhm.
like how quickly you get bogged down by problems when you face it. So it shouldn't be, I mean, the candidate should actually try to solve problems, and if they have a lot of hands-on experience with technological I mean technology stack, that adds again a lot of values.
Okay, so since
Yeah,
we are on the
attitude
topic,
towards problem and attitude towards other people as well. Atul. I would like to include that.
That's obviously there.
Yeah, and since Digvijay spoke about attitude versus the skill set, that reminds me of the talk by Harsha Bogle where he talks about Sachin Tendulkar and Vinod Kambli, and he compares like how attitude versus the skill set matters most. Like attitude matters more than the skill set, right?
Right, Vinod
So
Kambli
go
was way
back and
more
watch
talented
that
than,
video. Yeah,
yeah,
I would
Vinod Kambli was way
say
more talented actually.
yeah. So
I think a
yeah.
lot of people would disagree with that. I don't know. That might start a controversy right here.
No, even Sachin Tendulkar says that.
Okay, then
Yeah.
I think it's okay.
So go back and
They're
watch
childhood
that
friends.
video by Harsha Bogle. That's really nice.
Well, that's one tip for you, all the students out there. Go watch that video of Harsha Bogle talking about Sachin Tendulkar and Vinod Kambli. You might learn a lot. Since we are on the topic of technical ability, there is one. I mean, we should just. I think we can wrap it up with this one question. So, as interviewers and as people, as a company that's looking for new employees, what is, according to you, appreciated more? Journal tech knowledge or focus tech knowledge? By this question, what I mean is that I mean, what do you appreciate if a person is sitting in front of you and he's delivering and he's an interviewee? What do you appreciate more? Do you appreciate that person to have a little knowledge of a lot of different frameworks and technologies, or good knowledge about one, or a handful?
So this again reminds me of one of my friends, online friends, and also I've met him in person, Tanay Pratap from Microsoft. He tweets a lot about like how you can crack interviews. So he said a very similar thing about your question, is that a little bit of everything and a focused knowledge in one particular tech stack, that helps a lot, so that you understand on the like higher level, like how things are connected, how things work, and then you get hands-on experience in one particular thing. Like I know how Flutter works, but I have very little hands-on experience with Flutter. But I have used React and JavaScript a lot. But when I'm like coding Flutter, I can totally relate to what I did in React and React Native, and it would take me a day or two to build anything in Flutter, I would say. But I have like hardly 1 week of experience in Flutter. So a little bit of everything and focus knowledge in one particular tech stack is what I suggest. Yeah.
So actually, a little bit of everything actually gives you, I mean, a mindset where you can learn from other aspects of the other technologies as well. So, say for example, Sanket was talking about Flutter and React. Uh, I mean, React Native, as per like React Native and Flutter, both are used for building mobile applications. Now, React Native might have some flaws, but Flutter might have solved that problem very well. So you can, I mean, people can learn from Flutter and then again try to solve that problem in React Native. So exploring stuff like opens a bit of, I mean, opens the area where a problem in certain technology can be solved from, I mean, taking a cue from the other technology. And coming to the candidates, like for freshers candidate, uh, like if they have like experience with various technologies, if they try to learn various technologies here and there, a bit of technology from maybe say web world or maybe from mobile world, uh, that again shows their attitude towards learning things. Like how do they approach to learning, if they are open to exploring newer technologies. So in the web world, we have like uh, every week we have new frameworks, new libraries coming in. So if people are capable of learning very quickly and exploring it well, that gives again, that gives the confidence to the interviewer that okay, they have experience with exploring stuff, and then they can learn certain technologies on their own.
So basically, having the general knowledge about a lot of different technologies creates a strong conceptual base for the students, because there are a lot of different concepts involved in a lot of different technologies, and those concepts can be interchanged and used within all these technologies. So it's important to have a very strong conceptual base.
Exactly.
Right.
That's right.
Right. And so okay, that's I think that's pretty much I think that's how we'll wrap up this one particular discussion topic. Another thing that I think a lot of students might think, or in my experience have been thinking, uh, to look at the interview from the employer's perspective to know a little bit more about it. So I'd like to put this question in this panel here. What do you think is the biggest factor that you have noticed while taking technical interviews that students lack these days?
So to start with, we find if a student is actually uh, has not actually experimented with a lot of things, or maybe not explored uh, different technologies, that puts a little bit of negative impression on the interviewer. That again, I was talking about the self-learning and exploration ability of students. So that, I mean, if they lack in like syntax of certain technologies, that's totally understandable. But they should actually be, I mean, open to exploring various aspects of a technology. Say, for example, if someone is going to apply for a web company that works on web technologies, so the candidate should actually understand how internet works.
Hmm.
So until and unless they have that background, it gives a negative impression to the interviewer that okay, this person is not, uh, I mean, does not like to explore stuff and does not want to uh, learn stuff on their own.
Yeah.
I see.
And to add to that, I think what I have seen, like on the resumes of freshers mainly, is that they lack like working on real projects. Like colleges give you that opportunity to like work on projects, finally a project. So choose something and try to build that yourself from scratch. Don't just take the project from your seniors, modify it a bit, edit the name, and start doing things. And also,
Which
don't
is a very common
don't like
practice, I
yeah,
presume.
yes, yeah, that, yeah. So you are given an opportunity to enter this entire world of technology and all those things. But the first thing what you do is not learn and just say, okay, I want the degree. Don't do that. Not at all. And also I've seen like people work in groups in projects. Avoid that. uh, if you do that, and like when people show me their finally a projects, and then I start talking about, okay, what is this part about, and what is how is the front end build, can you change something here and there, and then the answer is like, okay, I didn't do this part, it was my friend who did this. That puts me off. Like that's a big turn off. I would say try to build projects as an individual sole developer, because you'll learn everything about at least one project. And once you have the, as Digvijay mentioned, the conceptual knowledge of any particular stack in and out, then you can do a bunch of things. And the projects, college projects and any side project which you can do before coming to the corporate side, that is the experience. Like say if someone is there with 3 years of experience, 4 years of experience, any freshers can't really have that. What freshers can have is a bunch of projects on their profile, and bunch of real projects which they have built themselves, and not just for the sake of building it, but to solve real problems, to empathize with the end users of those. Say if they are building an app or a web app or a website, so they have to think from the perspective of the end users who are going to use this app or this particular, say, website or anything. So that end to end thing is really important, which I see which I don't see in most of the resumes, and the ones that we see, we make sure that we hire them anyhow. Yeah.
Right. And also I've seen that like students don't give much attention to the user experience that they are trying to build in their project. So by user experience we mean how easy the interactivity with the users are going to be in the project. I mean, whatever they're trying to build. uh, and also as Sanket talked about the solving real life problems. Whenever someone tries to solve a real life problem in their project that they do, uh, that opens up a perspective where uh, people can look at the problems themselves and try to solve it in many different ways. And that opens up a whole lot of environment for them where they can again try to approach the same problem in different manners.
Right. So this gives an impression that a particular candidate has not just done a project for the sake of it, but he's actually keeping in mind how a real product would fare in the real world, and it would technically give an impression of the ability to be real world ready when it comes to tech.
Yeah.
Right.
And also if people try to like create various smaller projects, that again gives them an impression. I mean, gives them a sense of relief, sense of satisfaction that okay, I can solve something from end to end, and this gives a sense of completeness to them,
Right.
and they get satisfied that okay, I've done something.
Right. So I'm just
Start
curious.
small, start small, think big.
Mhm. That's that's a very important thing that Atul just said. You should start small and think big. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. So you just got me really curious. Since you were also with the same university 9 years ago, what were your projects? What did you do at your time?
So you've seen the ClickBuzz mobile application.
Yes.
Okay, so that was what we were trying to build 9 years ago, and that was just in Java. I mean, back then there was no React Native, no Flutter. it was all native implementation. So we were trying to like build the ClickBuzz application.
So how was your
And Sanket,
experience through all that?
I mean, it was totally. I mean, we were doing various smaller projects in college, something like creating a uh, like counter. What we had in our department was we used to have a department fest, and there we had uh, like we used to put stalls, and we used to have various games put on the stalls. So we had a game called uh, clicking click king. So that was like who is able to click the mouse uh, like for the maximum number of times within a
Ah,
certain time period.
yes, yes. I think it was a trend at the time. There were a lot of websites that used to do the same thing. Because
Right.
I
Yeah.
remember this one website called being torrent based for some reason. I don't know why they did that, but it was a
Mhm.
torrent based website where the amount of clicks that you get in a minute would get you the amount of downloads on a particular thing, and it was all made up. It was just a game, but I remember it being a trend at the time.
Yeah, it
Right.
was a super hit. Yeah, it was our department fest, Atul. I think, what was that? Tech Quest, right?
Tech Quest. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So we had put the stall at the CSC block, and it was super fun. I think we built that game ourselves. Like,
Yeah. Right. And like starting from
mm,
that, going into the like real life a project where we had this cricket scores update and articles updates. I mean, all such things related to cricket. And I was also in the cricket team. That's why that caught my attention, that project, and that's why I took that up. So
mhm.
it was a very good experience to learn. I mean, completely new stuff at that time.
And
My
also, of
project was
course,
different though. My project was not related to cricket. In 2011, mobile phones were evolving, and we were in that phase. So there were a lot of websites which was not optimized for mobile phones. You would get like zoomed out version of like the desktop on the phones. So my final year project was to convert like desktop websites to mobile compatible websites, and it worked up to some extent. It was not 100% success, but I'm happy that we built something which was not there, and it was during the phase where mobile adoption was going high.
And Sanket has a lot of fascination towards automating stuff, and that's how the idea of a product that we are building, BuilderX. I mean, that is also somewhat a conversion that we do. Uh, I mean, from design to code.
Yeah, I've loved graphics. I think even in my third year mini project was better than the final year project. I built a visualization of like shortest path algorithms
Mhm.
with using OpenGL in C++. You could use your mouse. I mean, doing something with mouse and graphics in C++ for a college student, it wasn't like a very common thing back then. But I used all the knowledge of HTML, CSS, and making sure that it looks good. It came out really well. I'm not sure where that project is. I should, I think, dig into my Gmail attachments to find that project.
Like my third year project was again a game. There was a table tennis game that we used to that could be played using mouse, and multiplayer game that was. And we also wanted to implement the computer version of it so that a player could play against the computer, but we were not really successful of giving the control to the computers.
so I think the biggest takeaway for the students watching from this is that projects are important, experiments are more important. Don't just copy stuff that has already been built, but try to do things your way, show your own creativity, and add your touch to it. And of course, it's not really important for you to do something extremely big to be known at that time, but it's just important for you to have practical knowledge about what you're learning in the classroom. and apply that on your own. And of course that adds to your knowledge, your grooming as your entire grooming as a technical person, and as well as adds a lot of value to your resume. So the students watching should indulge more in that.
Yeah, summarized very well, actually. Projects should be taken as an opportunity to learn, and not just like for the sake of completing the project and getting marks in your university exams.
Right. Okay, here's a funny one. So at the time when, of course, I don't know if this was still the case. I'm sure it must have been, but when you were in your final years and you were preparing for interviews, and especially when I was in my final year and I was preparing for interviews, I used to see a lot of people going online on Glassdoor and other interview helping websites to look for questions, technical questions that the interviewers might ask. Most common questions: C++, bubble sort, what does iostream.h do? So, and in my experience, all of that time that I've spent with those people trying to understand what a technical person is has been an utter waste because I never was asked what iostream.h actually is. So, do you also think the same, that reading on Google about such questions about bubble sort programs and C++ and basic things about how do you print hello world or how do you create a Fibonacci sequence, are those really that important in an interview? Do you really ask those questions in an interview?
We do ask such questions, but not like okay, what does this do? Okay, explain me how this works. But it's more like we twist them around and try to understand like what is the algo behind that, and maybe like if uh, the candidate can actually rebuild that particular algorithm, not from memory but from the logical thinking. Like we usually give them puzzles and don't really tell them, okay, this can be solved by this algorithm, and then we try to find out if the candidate can implement one of the algos like bubble sort or binary search to solve that particular problem, so that they can actually link and think about what they learned in the, or it's like connecting the dots of algos versus real life problems, something like that. But not straight away question, what does iostream.h do? But maybe it depends. Yeah,
Okay.
Atul?
Yeah, like we try to twist such problems where we see that people are able to think think at a problem and solve it with certain algorithms that are available. So algorithms, telling the name of the algorithms and implementing it is like it's easy because it's available everywhere and everyone learns it in their curriculum. But um are you actually able to implement, like solve a problem using that algorithm or not? So we try to present the problem in such a way that the algorithms must apply, but people are able to think that okay, this algorithm might solve this problem better.
Right. So I think it's important for students to understand that just memorizing answers to questions like these don't really help. It is important for you to understand the concept behind such questions. Say, for example, if you're talking about header files or you're talking about a certain program, you need to understand why have what happens on the screen and why it happens, and
Right.
use that. And so interviewers basically do not try to put straightforward questions about concepts to you, but they actually look at how you are able to utilize those concepts, how well do you understand them, so that you can use them to and apply them to certain problems to solve them. I think that's the entire gist of what we really look for in a candidate when we ask them certain questions. So we don't just
Correct.
look them.
Yeah.
We just don't want bookish answers from them. We want them to solve real life problems using the concepts behind those questions.
Correct. And sometimes we also like if the candidate is not able to think on their own, sometimes we give them hint, okay, try to solve this with say binary search. So are
Right.
they able to again think on that terms or not, and then implement the same thing for that problem?
Right. Because everybody needs a little bit of help every now and then.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a hard and fast rule that you need to know everything, and if you don't answer out of A, B, C, if you come to A and don't answer B or C, it's the end. We will always give you that little extra nudge that okay, you're in the right
Obviously.
direction. Walk a little forward. See where
Right.
you'll land.
Everyone needs some sort of hand holding here and there.
Right. Right. Great. I think we can wrap up the technical part of this discussion with this one final set of questions. Let's just say that since we've been talking a lot about projects and experiments and how these things are important to demonstrate real life application of things and concepts, let's just say a candidate has not been a part of any project really and has not really experimented with tech to the extent that we would like them to. Does that reduce their chance of getting employed by any means?
I think yes, because with less number of projects on their resume or in their experience, that means the person uh, doesn't have much interest in building stuff. And companies like GeekyAnts or other services and products companies in this space, they look at people who can build stuff for them, right? And if there's no projects, then that equates to lack of interest altogether. So I think yes, like having less number of or having no projects at all on the resume or in the experience reduces the chances of getting hired.
Yeah, and then that's a total turn off for us, and then that also doesn't give us opportunity to understand what how they approach things, because they haven't solved any sort of problems on their own, and again, as Sanket said, that shows the lack of interest that the person has in that field. I mean,
Right.
sometimes it might happen that the interview that is happening is not from the field of interest of that candidate, and so I also urge the candidates to actually go through the job description and understand if that part of that job is actually that interests you or not.
Right, right. I think that's a very important part here because you can't really ask a plumber to fix your furniture, right?
Exactly.
So, what would you suggest for students who are in their final years and sitting for interviews and have not really indulged in any projects? So, what do you think would be a saving grace for them at this point of time?
It's never late.
Go back and build something.
Start.
Start today. Start today. Go back, build something.
It's never too
adds
late.
a lot of value, and it's fun, right? If you don't enjoy building stuff, then the field of building web apps, mobile apps might not be for you. I think look for what you want, but give it a shot. I think people don't realize that it's fun building things. For me, the motivation is always to build something that already exists. I love to build copies of, say, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, or sometimes some famous website which I really like. I try to imitate those things, and it's fun. I don't get into the intellectual property issues, but it's just it's just a fun learning experience.
But of course, you do that from scratch
yeah.
on your own, right?
Yes, do that from scratch, from ground up, right? And Google is your friend. See how you can build. Like if tomorrow I have to, like if I come up with an idea that solves a problem, which is to build an app, and and that has say instant messaging or profile picture and all this. I need to know those things. Otherwise, I would go haywire and don't really know how to build and what to build, right? So, and it's always fun. So do that at least for fun.
And sometimes people actually look for perfection, and perfection is actually, shouldn't be a word here. And people should take action and then start something. Start very, very, very small. And
It's like
probably
done is better than perfect, right?
exactly that sums up whatever I was trying to say.
So I think
Take action.
Move fast
Take
and
action.
break. Move, yeah, and also move fast and break things. I think these two lines from Facebook had really had an impact on the early culture of GeekyAnts, and especially those who are fresh out of college. These two things are really important. When you don't have to worry about like the users on the production, the side projects, you can do anything. You can break it on production when you have zero number of users there. So take that freedom. It's okay to crash your system or your website, and that's how you learn.
Right. So students, I think it's important for you to start as soon as you can, because it's never too late. And I mean, even if you are in the middle of a project, or if you are taking the initiative to build something and you've got all your concepts right and you've got a vision in your head, I think that can also help you have a very good chance in your interviews, because that also shows a lot about the kind of things that you think about and what your thought process is. And of course, like Atul said, Atul and Sanket both said that Google is your friend to improve your concepts and help you build things, not memorize questions.
Right.
Right. So one
Digvijay,
final.
I think we are getting a lot of comments. So I think we need to speed up on this one, and then we'll check the questions from the students.
All right, let's do that. So one common question that I have for all the aspects of this interview is that students are usually used to, or are being taught, are always taught about how to sit in interviews when they are in person. But because of the pandemic, everything has become remote and all interviews are being held remotely. So what do you think? How do you think are these two interview sessions different, and what do you think are good practices for remote interviews when it comes to from a technical aspect, basically?
So the remote culture of taking interviews has actually impressed us a lot, and we think it is way more better than having a face-to-face interviews. Uh, I mean, and coming to the guidelines, actually, there are various guidelines. You should have a very good internet connection. You should have a very good headphones available. I mean, so that there is no distortion in the voice and things like that. But what it actually adds is that we can uh, test the users like capability to code something, and like on the fly we can ask them to share the screen, and then try ask them to solve a very small problem. Simple, create a counter in the technology, whatever they prefer. So that has given us a lot of, I mean, that has actually improved the interview process for us, and hopefully will continue that in future.
In-person interviews, we were not able to see a lot of things, especially the dev environment of the candidates, which is now possible. We can ask them to share their screen and see what sort of plugins they are using, which editor do they use, are they using a lot of shortcuts, or are they juggling with the mouse pointer. So these things help a lot. I mean, it has helped us a lot to improve the quality of interviews that's been going on. We record the interviews, and we also go back and check, okay, how was the candidate. And also it's a two-way street. I mean, it has worked, I mean, for us and for the candidate as well. And I don't think we are going to go back to in-person interviews. I think the first couple of rounds is always going to be remote for us. And maybe the HR round, or when this pandemic gets over, I hope it gets over soon. When this gets over, then I think the final round is going to be in person. Like that's equally important, right? I want to get away from monitors. Seriously.
Right. So since we are at the point where we are talking about HR interviews, because us taking a lot of interviews also involves us reading a lot of resumes about students, and these are some things that I don't think colleges focus enough on how to build good resumes, because a lot of students do not get a chance to showcase their abilities in the first place, because their resume gives a different impression of them. So that begs the question: what are irrelevant things that you have seen on people's resume that people add, and why should they not be there?
A lot of things. I think Atul was speaking about it the other day. I think just 2 days back when we were interviewing a lot of candidates. Atul, can you talk about that?
So I see people actually putting their family backgrounds there. I have two sisters, I have two brothers. I mean, I think we are we should avoid such stuff, such information. And also, I've seen a lot of resumes where I've seen very unprofessional email IDs. So that should also be avoided. So and also people try to explain their interests and hobbies more, and rather than focusing on the actual thing that the company is looking for, that their technical skills, their uh, like team
Projects,
working
their
skills,
experiments.
their projects, and things like that. And also people explain the project in a very huge paragraph, so that should be avoided. uh, and yeah, things like that. Maybe multiple
Okay.
phone numbers, and that should also be avoided.
Mhm.
Putting
Right.
references
Yeah.
that I have been referred by this person, this XYZ. So
So this is one thing that
avoid all such stuff.
yeah, this is one thing that people have always talked about, that references actually help, but they don't really. They just add on to your resume, because we are looking at the candidate. We are not looking at where the candidate is coming from.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
that just
don't add
gives,
that. It's an
yeah,
overhead. Yeah, it's an overhead, and it puts a lot of pressure on us. So don't add the references. Try to crack the interviews all by yourself, and not with anything else. Yeah. And also
and
a couple
also,
of things
yeah.
to be avoided on the resume. Okay, Atul, you can continue.
Okay, I was talking about. I mean, as Digvijay was talking about the copy paste stuff from the friends, and uh, I mean things like that. So try to, uh, I mean, okay, you can copy from your friends, but try to at least edit that according to whatever is relevant to your skills, whatever is relevant to your interests.
Okay, all right, right. Since we are talking about irrelevant things on the resume, since when I take interviews, I also go through a lot of resumes, and there are these few words that give me nightmares when I read them, and I see them on 90% of the resumes. I think you might have an idea about what words I'm talking about, but if
Correct.
you don't, these
Hard
words are
worker, team
yes.
player. Yeah. So,
So people always say that they're hard workers, they're team players, they are fast learners. So, I mean, everybody says this, but what do you think is the ideal way to portray these skills? Because I know that these skills are really important to thrive in the industry, to thrive in a company. But just saying that you're a hard worker, a fast learner is not enough. So, how do you think these skills should be portrayed?
It's pretty obvious that we are looking for hard workers, fast learners, and team players, and so there's no need to add those things definitely on the resume. I think it goes. It should be communicated when you're speaking to the interviewers, and it happens over time when you're speaking, and you portray them in action or in words when you're being interviewed. Like, okay, I built this particular thing and I was the architect. You can say that I know in and out of the architecture. So that proves that you are a team player. And then you can say I started learning, say, JavaScript, and in 10-15 days I was able to build this massive GitHub project. You can go ahead and check it out there. So something like that, that proves that these words are there, are your actual skill sets.
Right.
so I mean,
Uh,
every interview actually starts with a very, very common question. Please tell me something about yourself. So use this opportunity to tell all such stuff, how hardworking you are. Like, try to explain that into words rather than putting that into a resume. You can say, okay, I'm a very punctual guy, but how are you punctual? Try to explain that with, like, say for example, I always submit my assignments on time. Rarely happens, but yeah, things like that.
right. So, one thing that I can think of is that since you said that the first question that people interviews usually ask is to give them a brief introduction about the candidate, or tell them something about the candidate. But if an interviewer asks you, tell me something that is not mentioned on your resume, I think it's a sign that you have put everything on your resume and you really need to cut it short.
Right,
Because
and maybe they have not put their technical skills and whatever the
right,
company is looking for in the resume.
right,
So that is the most important part when we go through a resume. We like we hardly spend more than 30 seconds or maybe a minute to be like precise. And we actually look at the skills part and projects part more. So emphasize that part on the resume. And whenever you're given an opportunity to talk about yourself, talk about those things, and try to portray. Try to present such skills in the introduction that you're going to give. You can speak about your hobbies, but don't elaborate the hobbies part and stuff.
Right. Okay. One thing that's always debated upon is that whenever you're going for an interview for a company, it is always important to research about the company prior. So, according to you guys, what do you think? How much weightage does knowing about a company hold in an interview? I mean, does a candidate need to know everything about the company, or a little information is okay, or even if they don't know anything about the company, it'll still work? So, what are your thoughts on that?
No, a bit of knowledge about the company is very important. At least know about the domains, what the company is into, and also if you're interested in particular technologies, so look for the technologies. And like if people come to me and then say, okay, so GeekyAnts, you guys build cars, so that's unacceptable, right? So we build mobile apps, we build web apps, right? So that's important. Do a basic research. We don't expect you to know all the technologies that you work in, but see if there is a match of the GD and your profile.
Right. Because I remember I was able to do this one. Yes, please, Atul. Go ahead. Yeah.
Just one thing I wanted to add.
Yeah, sure.
Doing a research about the company actually gives you what the company is looking for, and you can then relate to that job description, and then understand if that fits for your interests, if you would like to do that for a longer period of time or not. So that gives an opportunity to the candidates to relate to the job description and their interests as well.
Right, because I agree with Sanket on this, because a little bit of information is always good, because I still remember one of these experiences that I had. I was in an interview and I asked the candidate, okay, so what do you know about the company? And the response was, after thinking for a good minute, the response was, you're into business. And I was just dumbstruck at the time, and I said, yes, I know that we are into business, but what kind of business are we into? And when I said, what more do you know about the company? And the answer that I got was that you are based out of Kolkata. I was like, the last time I remember, we were based out of Bangalore. So I think, of course, it's really important for you to know a little bit about the company, not in and out, because that is something that you will explore, and that the employers will give you an opportunity to explore once you join the company, if you do at all. So you should always leave that little bit of. Also, while talking to the interviewers I've also noticed this one fact, that a lot of people have a very heavy slang influence on their language, and that inhibits their communication a lot. What are your thoughts on that? Is it really okay? Can that be overlooked?
Not. Yeah, Atul can go ahead.
I mean, being friendly is, it's welcome, but try to avoid slangs, because that shows that becomes a little unprofessional, and might turn off the interviewer, and then might earn you some negative points.
Right.
Yeah, jargons are fine, like using the words like ASAP and those things are fine, but slang's a big turn off. And talking about language, I think I've also seen people with heavy accents, native accents. So that also doesn't work really well, because most of the companies are global and they have to speak to international clients. So also work on that, improve your communication skills. I think Digvijay can have some tips there.
Well, one thing that I've noticed a lot in the candidates when I speak to them is that they have a very heavy influence of using to and or and all such Hindi words in between English sentences, which I personally will suggest that you should completely avoid. So it's really important to work on your communication skills, because you need to look at communication as a way to tell the other person what you're really capable of, I mean, the word communication gives it away. So if you are not clear with your language, no matter if you're talking to an interviewer or you're talking to a client who is sitting across the world, it is very important for you to be clear and concise with your words, and you need to think about what you're saying, because if you do not get your message across, of course, it has a negative impact on your ability to be hired. Because me as an interviewer, if you're telling me something, I asked you something, and you are telling me things about something entirely different, that does not answer my question, and your message does not come across, even if you think you're trying to tell me the answer to the question that I asked. So it is very important for you to work on your communication skills, very important for you to practice the language. And of course, we understand that, since you belong to certain places throughout India and there are some native influences, a little bit of those will be there, and that is acceptable. But to have a very strong native influence on your language is, well, not really accepted. So I think it is
And it's
really
not just
important.
and it's not just the fluent communication. It also goes well with the writing skills,
Right,
and
right,
it doesn't stop like during the phase of interviews. Like when you are on board, even
right,
when you are on probation, it's a big factor. Like we use Slack for communication, and on the very first day and repetitively, I keep saying this to the interns that go ahead and use correct English, use correct punctuations, full stop, use a space after full stop, don't use a small I, and many things like that. And it's a big turn off, like, because they are going to face the global like clients and people, right? And if I see a statement, a sentence starting with small letter or ending with full stop and not having a space, that's a big turn off, especially for me. I don't know, that gets me on my
Well,
nerves,
no,
but still, yeah.
well, no, that's really important, because at the end of the day, it's not just your impression, but the impression of an entire organization that comes across through that.
Correct,
So it's
yes.
really important to work on those things as well. Atul, do you have anything to
And
add
yep,
on this?
yes, and when people say team player, the first and foremost thing that people should have is the good communication skills, so that you can communicate your ideas, you can understand others' ideas, and then work around things like that.
Right. Right. So I think we can sum up this part of the discussion with the fact that students, a resume that you write is a way to market yourself, and you cannot. I mean, just think about it from a common sense perspective and put yourself in the shoes of the person that you're marketing yourself to. We don't want to hear too much about you, because we need something to talk about during the interview. If you put everything on the resume, we can just read your resume and know everything about you. So market yourself intelligently, smartly, work on your communication skills, get your message across as clearly as possible. And I think that these little things are going to have a huge impact on your ability to be hired. I think we can all agree with that.
Yes,
Yes,
obviously.
and
And
also keep the resumes short and sweet. A good resume is like 1 page long. A
Yeah.
bit, it can overflow a
One and a
bit,
half.
but
One and a
not
half.
1.5 max one
Max.
and a half. Yeah, nothing
Right.
more than that. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
and also, like,
So yeah.
we were talking about communication skills, just one last point that I want to add.
Mhm.
The thing that people actually get tensed when they are asked certain questions in the interviews, uh, and even if they have not understood the problem, I mean the question that they are being asked, they hesitate in asking the question back again to the interviewer. So they should be actually uh, okay to ask questions to the interviewer on on actually the question that is being asked to them, so they can cross question the interviewers and understand the problem better. So that also gives us the sense that, okay, this person is actually thinking and can like communicate in a better way around the problem.
Right. So mostly students are really hesitant to ask questions because they think it's rude. Well, it's not if your question is an intelligent question and it's a question that will work towards the problem. Also, it is also important for you to ask questions about the company because it shows interest. It shows
Yes.
that you are really interested in the company, you want to know more about it, and it gives us the impression that you will be a good fit because you're really genuinely interested in our mission and our vision.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
So I
Correct.
think,
Yeah.
So I think this is, we'll close the communication point here and we will move on to the questions from the students. But very quickly before that, Sanket and Atul, I have some interview myths that students have going on in between them, and we are going to debunk them really quickly in quick sentences. Right. So
Rapid fire?
I'm rapid fire. I'm going to throw this to you
Yeah.
one by one and just answer away. First interview myth. Interviews take an interview with the mindset of making you feel like you're not good enough. Is that true?
That's so wrong. That's so
Yeah.
wrong. It's
Totally
not
wrong.
like that. Yeah, we don't do that. We try to comfort the people and try to like understand their skill set and not just put them in situations that is like really bad. It's not what is that MTV show Roadies? It's not MTV Roadies. So we try to comfort you, but sometimes we also try to put you in situations, tough situations, just to see how you perform in under pressure, right? But nothing more than that.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
So basically, we are sitting there with the intention to hire you. We are not sitting there with the
Correct.
intention to put you down and tell you that you're not good enough for anything. We are
Right.
sitting there.
We are like putting our resources behind you, and we are investing time. So
Right.
we are not here to not hire you. Actually,
Right. Right. Okay. Next myth. Students think that being different or thinking differently about things within an interview or having a different general perspective about things has negative impacts and makes you stand out of the crowd, which for some reason they think is a bad thing. Yes or no?
It is not. No, not at all. Thinking differently always adds values, but not intentionally thinking differently. Just I want to think it in different way. But if you have ideas which can solve the problem in a more smarter way, that always adds a lot of value.
Right. Atul?
yeah, same thing. Not at all.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can. I mean that shows the. Your capability to solve a problem in different manner as well.
Right. And one misconception here that I want to clear out for all the students there is that companies don't really look for people who think on the same page, because that adds a bit of monotony to how things are done. We are actually looking for people who think differently because we want a lot of different options on how to solve problems, and some options are better than the others. So if we don't have a lot of different options, we don't have people who think differently, we wouldn't be able to change the world like we want to.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Next one. You can never be too prepared for an interview.
Be prepared for an
Wrong.
interview to the
Yeah.
core.
Yeah. It's anytime you can. I think whatever interview is, it's not like you take few hours to prepare for an interview. It's the entire journey what you have gone through in your life. So you're always ready. Show what you are.
Right. So students never stress too much about an interview. It's just an insight about who you are and what you have done as a person and as a professional. So be ready to just tell everything about yourself to the interviewer to the extent that they're asking you to, of course. Well, you can't just start talking about everything in your life.
Right. So being prepared for an interview means that you have researched about the company. You have like you are ready with the introduction that you are going to give. You are ready with the presentation of your projects that you have done. All such stuff.
Correct.
Right.
That means being prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make a note, everybody. One final myth that we have. Students often think that after their interview is done, following up for the result is rude and seems desperate.
It does not, but it depends on how you are approaching the companies for that. If you're writing a professional email, that's good enough. But if you're continuously sending me messages on LinkedIn, that's a turn off.
Yeah, and don't keep calling every other day. What's the result? What's the result? Because
Right.
there is a
So,
process that goes behind in the companies, and it takes a while to figure out all such processes.
Right. Okay. So that's all that we have to discuss from our end at the moment. Thank you very much, Sanket and Atul, for all the wonderful and fantastic insights from interviewers' perspective. I think this is really helpful for the students. I think it's time to get on with the questions that the students have been asking us till now. So the first question that we have is by Devjit Dhar, who is asking, what are the key points that you look for in a Git portfolio during the interview?
I think we have answered it, like
Yeah.
something that you have built yourself, something that is not copied, something that is not from one of the courses, right? If that needs to be different. Like yesterday, I was interviewing a candidate. He had a lot of like micro projects on GitHub, and like I checked the source code of one of them. It was just one single file, and it was barely like 30 lines of code, and that was, I mean, those 30 lines made an impression. It was short and sweet, and the candidate could explain each and everything about it. It was a tooltip made in React. It was a wrapper around CSS tooltips, which was made in React. And the way the candidate did that, he understood everything in and out about the technologies that he used. So that is really important. Don't copy paste. Don't use something from one of the courses online. Build something on your own. Short and simple.
And to make it like presentable very well, put the README file and explain it in a very crisp manner.
I think this also extends to the entire situation of an interview that students find themselves in. It is not good to oversell yourself. If you're adding things on your portfolio, if you're adding things on your resume, always be able to justify those things, because we just want you to be honest about yourself.
Yes, obviously.
Yes.
Be honest, and don't be don't as Digvijay said, don't oversell yourself, don't oversell your skills, because if you are if you tell that okay, I'm good with something, and you are asked the question on that stuff and you are not able to answer, that's a total turn off for us.
Right. Another question that we have, I think, is helpful for everybody, is that since we were talking about technologies and having knowledge about general technologies, a little bit about everything versus having all the information on a focused tech, how important is it to be well versed in a company's tech stack before going in for an interview? Sankadeep asks.
Yeah. So
This is
yeah.
yes,
So
Sanket,
is this for freshers or experienced guys? If it is for freshers, then you don't need to. I think we covered it in the previous questions that a little bit of everything and focus knowledge in anything is fine for freshers. But for experienced guys, it's very important that your skill set match with the company's requirement. Yeah, Atul.
Right.
Yeah, it's the same thing. If you are well versed with the company's tech stack, then we can save a lot of time on the training aspect that we actually go through, that the candidates go through.
But so it
And Atul,
technically becomes easier for the candidates if
Yeah.
they have information about what the company is working with, and it of course makes them a better fit than the rest of the crowd.
Right.
Okay, one question that we
So,
have here is
yeah, we'll
yeah,
take the
yeah.
questions alternately. Like Atul is going to take the next question.
All right,
Okay,
no problem.
fine. So one question here that we have is, any tips on cracking the HR round?
HR round is mainly, we check communications and all such skills beforehand itself. Talking about GeekyAnts, and HR round is mainly, that we do is mainly about how, what is your attitude towards the work that we are going to assign, and what is your attitude towards company, and whenever someone is attending an HR interview, I'll say about GeekyAnts. Whenever you are attending an interview in GeekyAnts, be show your passion towards the work that we do, and that gives us a lot of that gives us a sense of comfortness that okay, you are here to stay. and I mean, show that you are interested in long term and not just here to gain some experience and then go somewhere else.
Yeah, I have some things to add there. Basically, an HR interview at the end, like Atul said, is held to understand you better as a person. I mean, of course, if you get to the HR interview, you are a good technical fit for the company. But are you a good fit for the culture of the company? So that's what an HR round is for. And of course, the HR round is also aimed towards setting the correct expectations between the company and the candidate.
And
So
the
it is
candidate.
and so it is very important for the candidates. I would say it is very important for you students to be very honest and understand the amount of technical skill or the amount of experience that you have, and not overpromise, oversell, or over expect, which is very important. So an HR interview is basically all about this. And if the expectations are on the same page, and if the candidate appears to be a good fit for the company culture as well, there is nothing that is going to stop you from working in that company.
Correct. Yes.
Right. So the next question that we have is, well, it's a basic question, but Sanket, which kind of company do you, in your opinion, better for a fresher, a service-based company or a product-based company? Slash, adding to this question, a startup or an MNC?
Yes. So a product-based company, if it is like a huge company, then you might be working on a smaller piece. So a startup product-based company should be the P1 for anyone, because that gives a lot of exposure where the team size is small. So you are exposed to a bunch of things rather than just one part of a big product, I would say. And that also holds good for service companies which are building products for like other companies or other startups. Like say here at GeekyAnts, we work with a lot of startups. So even when you are working on a client project that's like a service-based project, you are working on the end-to-end solution of the product. So it's a mix and match. Try to pick a role where you are exposed to full stack development, I would say, rather than just one specific thing in the factory steps, right? Something like that.
I'd like to extend this question because I remember when I was looking, since I also started as a developer in the industry, when I was looking for a job, there was this common notion everywhere that MNCs are good because you have a good name attached to your resume, but startups are good if you want to learn more. How relevant do you think is this?
Don't do that. Don't fall into the trap of going behind big names, I would say. If you have that mindset, find a government job, find a good partner, settle down in life. But if you're looking for excitement, if you're looking to explore, if you want to like I won't say that big names are not doing a great job. Big names, big companies are big because they did something right. They have great products. They have great clients. So I wouldn't say that small startups are better than the big companies. Both of them have their own pros and cons. But what happens in small startups, you are exposed to a lot more things when things are not structured, when things are not set in process. Then you are a part of the entire uh, inception, when you see the company evolve from an idea to something concrete in the hands of the users, starting from very user research to technically building things to marketing things. You see all the steps and phases of that, and that's why people say that product-based startup companies is good for freshers. I would say choose that if that's an option, where you can expose yourself, where you are vulnerable, where you get more challenging opportunities.
Right, so it
So
essentially
to add,
translates into the amount of
I just
learning
have
that you
one
get.
point here.
Yeah,
I have one point here to add. Don't look at the name. Look at the job description. That will define everything for you.
exactly,
Correct.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
basically about the amount of learning that you get. You can get the same amount of learning from an MNC or a startup, but it depends on the kind of job that you're getting into and the amount of opportunities that you find for yourself there.
Exactly.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. I hope that helps and answers your question. Another question that we have is from Vinay. He asks that is it a plus point for a student to maintain a good LinkedIn profile?
For
Mm,
Atul.
I mean, that is again a sort of resume, online resume for you. So if you are like building a resume online, that gives, and I mean, you should actually invest time on creating a LinkedIn profile too. And maintaining a good LinkedIn profile means showcasing your projects, the kind of work that you have done, the kind of experiments that you have performed. So that adds a lot of value. But I don't think so that all the companies actually go through, I mean, apart from your resume, go through your LinkedIn profiles as well, because LinkedIn profile is again a kind of resume which is online. So that is not necessary, but if it is there, I mean, uh, it's a plus point actually.
Always adds on more value, of course.
Yeah,
Right.
but that's
Uh,
not mandatory.
of course. Uh, Akash asks that companies with lower packages are asking more questions on DBMS than programming, and MNCs are asking, like Amazon and Paytm, are asking questions on data structures and DB. I'm confused. Um, well, what do you think you should
I
start from?
have not, honestly, I have not seen this pattern. This is a surprise to me, but I think I never or we never prepared for interviews thinking, okay, I need to be good at DBMS, I need to be good at data structure or anything like that. These things are like the journey when you have something, right? Again, I think we're talking too much about like side projects, experiments, and if you do that, these things come by itself. These things are the roots or the path that take you there. So I have
Right.
personally never invested time to just learn, okay, I need to be good at data structure or DBMS.
Yeah, GeekyAnts is built on experiments.
Yes, actually.
We started with a lot of R&Ds and experiments. So uh, I mean, to answer Akash's question, I think if you are trying to be a programmer, you should also know, I mean, apart from if you are good at DBMS, you should also be good at data structures and like programming syntaxes. So I think you shouldn't be confused and learn everything and try to prepare as a package.
So I think this again boils down to the same point that we were discussing about that it's not about looking at a few technologies and memorizing what's in those technologies to land interviews. It's more about the underlying concepts. And if you have the concepts right, all of these things that you're mentioning, Akash, you would know automatically and you would also know how to apply them. So you wouldn't have to worry about such things about reading, brushing up on DBMS or brushing up on data structures or brushing up on something else, because these would all constitute the underlying concept that you have as a programmer. And if you have those concepts straight, of course you'll be able to solve any problem that comes in front of you.
Correct.
Yeah, I think the tip for Akash is go back and build something like, say, Instagram or WhatsApp on your own, and all these things will be used, and you'll be well versed with all these.
Right. Rajesh Sharma asks, what if somebody has worked on multiple projects? How to manage a resume with that kind of information? I think what he's trying to say is that if you have worked on, say, 7 or 8 different projects, the resume is naturally going to be long. So how do you think we can manage with that kind of information?
Put forward your best projects that you have done, and then you can talk about the rest of the projects in your interviews. But I've also done this, I've also done that.
Right. So
Yeah,
just concise
I
information.
yeah, correct. And on GeekyAnts, we have the profiles of everyone, and I think there's a category, the most amazing work that I have ever done, and that just stands out like the best piece of work that you've ever done. So maybe just put a couple of them, not all of them.
Right. Right. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Rajat. Anika asks, how can I talk about transferable skills in my interview? Atul?
And I'm not sure what transferable skills
Well,
are.
I think what she's technically trying to ask is that since you have certain skills which let's say if you have some technical skills, and how do you what is the ideal way to talk about, well, of course there is one way to talk about your technical skills through your projects and what you've done and what you've not done, but if that particular part is missing, what is the ideal way to talk about your technical knowledge and how to convey the fact that your concepts are strong?
So try to convey those things around the work you have done. I mean, around the project that you have actually done, and then, or maybe say, I mean, during your introduction that you are being asked, and you can put these skills into good sentences and put forward that.
So I think if there are not really any projects that they have to showcase in that particular interview, so it's important to just tell blatantly about the kind of things that you know and the kind of things that you've done, so that the interviewer can come up with a problem to make you solve that problem and then showcase your those skills, transferable skills, at that point in the interview.
Right, and we were also talking about.
So I just Googled and found out what transferable skills are actually. So these are the non-technical skills,
Okay.
mainly that can be transferred between multiple companies and technologies. So
Right.
anything not specific to technology or company. So that includes communication, written skills, problem-solving skills, teamwork, and I think we have spoken about it. But you want to iterate over again?
Right, I mean, these skills are also important where, say for example, in GeekyAnts we have the culture of writing various articles, various like documenting various open source stuff that we do. So these skills can be actually shown through maybe an article that you have written during your experiments or during your studies, things like that.
Right. Okay. I hope that answers the question here. Vaibhav Kumar asks, and this is a good one. What's the best way to answer the question, what are your weaknesses? Be honest about
I
them,
think
I
be
guess.
honest. Yeah, yes, totally be honest. Be honest. Like if you're good with algos and you're not good with say presenting it to the end users, you can say that. Or say if you are if you take a lot of time in estimating, you can say that you take a lot of time in architecting stuff before implementing it. So that is your weakness, but that also becomes like a strong point, right? So be honest, I would say that's the answer.
And don't talk about ice creams are my weaknesses.
I have allergies.
When I see ice creams, I want to eat. So don't talk all that stuff. Try to portray your weaknesses such that it becomes a like strength somewhere else.
Okay, right. I hope that answers your question, Vaibhav. Just be honest. Just be yourself. I think that's the key to everything. Devjit
We
asks
don't
if,
ask that question.
Yeah.
but Devjit here asks, yes, please, Sanket, you were about to say something. Go ahead.
Nothing. Yeah, you can go ahead with the next question.
Okay. So Devjit asks if he plans to start a software product startup and fails in a few years. Let's not be that pessimistic, Devjit. But anyway, if he fails, can he get a job offer with his tech skills after the company fails?
Why not?
I want to take that question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
think that's our story, Atul, right? Like we
Right.
started in 2011. We had a lot of failed ideas, I would say, and out of 10 ideas, 9 of them definitely fail. So be ready for that. And uh, me and Atul, we started working on a bunch of apps back then we had Facebook Canvas apps that we built, games on Facebook. We built some Android app. We also started a T-shirt company, uh, and we had a Instagram like app for the web, and we were doing it just for fun and also to build some startup. Had that dream, okay, we should build something which gets millions of users. We in fact got millions of users on one of the Facebook's games, but that was overnight shut down by Facebook because there was some conflict, legal conflicts going on. And we woke up one morning and we saw that that app or that game did not exist anymore. So we had a lot of learning, like learning from the Facebook games was never build a startup on someone else's platform that they can just take it all away in one shot. Then when we built the e-commerce company of t-shirts, we learned a lot of steps. Okay, how does this courier thing work? How can we integrate their APIs with us? How to accept payments online? So all these things keep adding a lot of experiences, skills, and it's totally fine to fail. We have failed a lot. I think we this version of GeekyAnts was had the inception in 2014. I would say 2013 or 2014. Like we were just hitting around for like 3 years here and there, and most of them failed. Then we started, okay, we have to have this company where we have services as like 70 to 80% of the company, and then 25% into R&D. And now we have this thing that worked well for 6 people to 30 people, and now it's scaling. We are getting a lot of leads, and the equation of say 80% services, 20% R&D works like a marketing strategy for us. We didn't know that for a really long time. We were doing a lot of open source and R&D, and then we realize that, okay, people are believing in us because they see our R&D work, and that eventually worked as the best, strongest point of GeekyAnts to showcase our skill set. So I would say be ready to fail. That's totally fine, but make sure that you learn from that failure. That's the saying that goes. But we have been there and done that, so use it.
And Devjit asks that can he get a job with your tech skills? Whenever you're like attending an interview, I mean the failures that you have. I mean, I hope you don't fail in your startup, but the learnings that you get from those failures actually adds a lot of experience and gives you a lot of
It adds a lot of
I mean,
maturity, I think, right?
yeah, maturity to your personality. And
Yeah.
any company would actually love to uh, have you on board when you fail. I don't wish that you fail.
Well, I think what Atul is trying to say is that, and my perspective on this is that planning a startup is not an easy job. I mean, it just does not take technical skills to start a company from scratch. I mean, you need to be well versed with business aspects of it, with financial aspects of it, and if you're not, it always gives you an opportunity to learn these things. And while learning these things and doing these things, because of course you would want your startup to grow, and you would have to learn these things and apply them on your startup. So I think that is what adds a lot of maturity to your personality, to your knowledge, and adds a lot of experience, tech wise and otherwise. And I think with such experience you would have a lot of different offers and a lot of different avenues that you can follow if you're looking for a job under any circumstance.
Right. And
Yeah,
don't
let's do.
plan too much
Yeah,
for it. Don't plan too much for
yeah.
it. Just go ahead with that, whatever idea that you have.
Right.
I,
Well,
I I think we should have another stream saying tips to build companies as a fresh graduate.
that's a good idea. That's a good idea. We should plan that. We'll do that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm.
so it's time for a little bit of marketing. Somebody has asked that they cannot find any opening for freshers in DPMs at the moment. So will there be any openings in the future?
There is a lot of opening. Atul, I think we have put it on the website, I guess, right?
Yes, it is. It is. I mean, the interviews are going on, and then the process is still in.
Yeah. from an internal discussion yesterday, we have 35 open positions for freshers.
Well, then I think it's about time that you should apply and come on board with us, of course. Gautam asks, how do you get a job in Flutter as a fresher? Most of them are for experienced candidates. I think be good at it.
I wonder how, like, how can someone have like 5 years of experience in Flutter when Flutter itself is like very new?
Right.
So yeah,
I think it's a myth.
but other like yeah. But I think we have seen people who got into Flutter from the Android background, and that has helped people to get jobs in Flutter. And if we see people with a lot of, say, animation thing or some apps or something on GitHub, we would love to give it a shot, or any company that is looking for Flutter guys. So if they have some animation work or some apps or clone of some apps, so you would love to see that speak. Yeah.
All right,
And if
so,
you want a job in Flutter and you're up for it, you can apply for GeekyAnts as well.
Yes, that answers the question. We are hiring, and we are hiring from your esteemed university as well. So if you look for a job opportunity on our website, apply for it. Come talk to us for an interview. We'd love to know more about you. From what I can see, Atul and Sanket, we just have a handful of questions left. I think 3 or 4 more. So let's continue on. Shailesh asks, what are your thoughts on a work-life balance in IT companies?
Sanket, you can put your points from the year-end presentation that we did.
Work-life balance in IT companies. So yeah, so I think that the couple of statements what I had put in the presentation was the first thing was GeekyAnts is you. That means the entire company is built by the people of GeekyAnts. Everybody does their part, but you are not 100% GeekyAnts. So you need to have, you're more than the company. So you just give your 8 hours, 9 hours in the company. And beyond that, it's good to think about the exciting projects or things that you're building in your work life, but also have the other side. I think that video which got viral by one of, what was that about? I forgot the title of that video, but it was about where this guy who is leaving office at 6 o'clock after finishing his 9 hours of job. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then he gets mocked by one of the employees who stays late and like who is less performant, doesn't have his personal life, who doesn't have any hobbies, like he doesn't play an instrument or goes and like shares ice cream with his kid, nothing like that. So always have that side that I mean, we are human beings, we are not machines. And as the movie Three Idiots says, gadhe manufacture nahi ho rahe. So don't do that. Yeah.
And yeah, if your time management skills are very good, your work-life balance will be very good.
Yeah, that's actually very important. Time management is a huge deal when it comes to maintaining a good work-life balance. So you should be able to manage your time well. You should be able to complete your tasks efficiently.
Yeah. Companies have expectations on daily basis as well from employees. We like some companies actually like assign daily tasks, some work on weekly basis or things like that. So if you have a good time management skills, you can manage your time well in the company, and then similarly you can manage your time, I mean, out of the company as well.
Yeah, but sometimes we need like projects, and your passion needs some extra work. So also be ready for that. It's not a solution, okay, you just work from 9 to 6 every day. Once in a while, once in like say a few weeks or months, there might be like situations where the production server goes down and you have to put in 12 hours, right? So it's not like, okay, you have to stick to something very specific, but always have that extra space for personal hobbies and everything.
Well, I think it's mostly about priorities and responsibilities here, because if you are working in a company, you are representing the company. Of course, you have some involvement in the company's growth, and that is a responsibility of you on a personal level as well. So if that one particular aspect of your life requires certain attention, I think it is only valid that you give it that attention. So I think it all boils down to this fact. So
Right.
I mean, it's not just that you will be working on 12 hours or 13 hours or 15 hours. I mean, as much time as it needs, but it's mostly about when some certain things require your attention, and when you give certain things your attention when it is of utmost importance. I think that's what it all boils down to, and that is what constitutes your work-life balance. uh, Yasmin has a question for us. She says that she's not from the CSE branch and she's learning web development, but in the interviews they had kept, the company that she had applied for had kept aptitude and coding round in C++. So do you think she can, from not being from the CSE branch, can she get a job in the software IT industry, or how can she crack interviews of this sort?
She can definitely like get a job, but if she would have read the job description properly, I mean, if the company is actually looking for C++ experience, then I mean, she might not have gone through the job description properly, and that's not a job for her. So if she's learning web development, go for a company where the company is actually looking for someone experienced in web development, or maybe hands-on with web development technologies, not specifically into certain programming languages.
Right. So
Yeah, and I think we also all the companies always give the flexibility of answering those questions in different languages.
Right.
So learning something else, like if Yasmin is learning web development, then JavaScript is an important part of it. So the same questions what was asked in C++, if you can answer them in JavaScript, I think that solves the issue here. And it's always good to learn the basics of computer science as well if you want to get into web development. A bit of like core computer science algorithms and those things always helps.
okay, all right. So we have talked a lot about GitHub and LinkedIn. Sumant asks if it's a good idea to showcase your Twitter profile on your resume, because some people, according to him, put most their work mostly on Twitter, and Twitter is really active when it comes to developers and freelancers. So, do you think it's a good idea to showcase your Twitter profile on your resume as well?
I think it's good. You can add it. I mean, at the end of the resume, just add links to your social profiles, but it's not mandatory. I think interviewers look for GitHub profiles and projects rather than some social profiles. But having a good like personal branding on Twitter does no harm. It always helps on Twitter, LinkedIn, and GitHub. It's always good. So don't overdo it, I would say, but have some presence, and don't make it a place just to like showcase your skills. Be natural and share things. Interact with people. Like the project that you share, also interact with the people who are sharing similar projects, and see if you share interests. And the conversation can go to any level after that. So be involved with the community, I would say, rather than investing time in just building your personal brand. And personal brand is a side effect of getting involved and helping people, I would say. And that's our story as well. Our projects started as something that we wanted to help ourselves first, and then the community, and slowly the brand built from there itself.
Right. Okay. I hope that helps. And it is also very important for everybody to know that you should always be ready to give back to the community that you're taking from. Uh, also,
And yeah, that reminds me, follow me on Twitter.
we have Twitter links for all of us down in the description. So follow all of us while you're at it. Why not? Also, another question, just too curious, which framework did we use for the GeekyAnts website?
I think it's a mix, WordPress and React.
WordPress and React. So I think you should start
So
learning
I
more.
think we moved away from WordPress. It's Laravel, I think, right now. Laravel plus
Okay, the
we have used
admin
React
part
or
is
something.
the admin part is just in WordPress, I guess.
Yeah,
Right.
a mix
Okay.
of technologies.
Yeah.
So Laravel, WordPress, and React for now. At the moment, I suppose. Okay. Guys, we have one final question, which is one of the most asked questions right now. So I wanted to keep it till the end. And this will be the last question that we'll be taking for this session. There are a lot of students who are pursuing their MCAs and are in class 12th or in their second higher education standard. Are they eligible for internships at GeekyAnts? And if yes, what are the requirements to apply for it?
So we have internship options for different colleges. We prefer interns who can come on board full time right after they complete their internship. So any college which involves the students for say like in their fourth year of engineering, and if they are full time available for internship in their fourth year of engineering, then we are good. But part time internship is difficult, and also any long break between the part-time between the internship and the full-time employment is something that like if that is short enough for like say a week or two, then it's good because we treat internship as like full-time employment, and we have all those material right from training to the projects available for all the interns. So if you're available full time as interns and have a short period between internship to full time employment, like the final year exams and things like that, then we are good. We have a lot of interns. We have, I think, right now more than 40 interns, I guess.
Right. So also, just while we are at it, could you tell them how they can apply for an internship?
Yes, I think the jobs part, the link is down. I think we are going to put it on the /jobs link of geekyants.com. We have to update it. So I have asked for it while speaking. Okay, we have another link. If you can, yeah. So we have this one. Just a second. Okay, yeah. So this is the one. I share the link with you, Digvijay. You can probably flash it. Okay, so this is the link.
I
have added it in the private chat.
Okay. Yep, I got it. Okay, so guys, yes, we are looking for interns. The only requirement is that you're good at what you do and you have the willingness to learn and explore new things. And of course, if you are if you want to be a full-time employee, it is always preferred by us. You can look at job openings and internship openings here in the comments. I've just sent it in the chat, so you guys can use this link to look for internship opportunities in the future as well. I guess, Sanket, Atul, with that, we have come to an end of all the questions. We don't have any more questions. Any final closing notes that you might have for the students watching?
So again,
I think we've covered it. Yeah.
I would like to iterate the same thing. Try the experiment way of learning things, and you are good enough for the corporates.
Yes, and also in the link. I'll come to the final closing. Before that, Digvijay, the link that you shared, a current openings link, I think that doesn't have internship option. We're going to add it and update it soon. Okay. Or provide you some options so that you can reach out to us if you want to be an intern at GeekyAnts. All right. So the closing lines. Yeah, the closing lines. I think we spoke a lot about experiments, side projects. So I would iterate the same thing. Go back and build something. Build anything. What you see on the screen, on your phone, anything. Be it like Swiggy or something like WhatsApp, anything which is really famous, and that brings up a lot of motivation when you're building it, so that you can see, okay, I can build something like say Facebook or Instagram or something on the web as well. Go ahead and build your own website. Pick a domain name. Domain names are cheap. web hosting is all time cheap. Go ahead, buy a domain and build something, I think. And that shapes up everything, right from learning data structure to improving your communication skills to improving your presentation skills, everything. So build stuff, just 2 words.
Well, that's that, students. And from a general perspective, for everybody else who's not particularly from the CSE department, don't overthink the process of interviews, and don't think of it as something that is scary, because it's not. Interviews are just a way of us getting to know you better and seeing that if you are eligible or if you're good enough to hold a stand in the technical industry out there. A few key points to understand and always keep in mind is that do not oversell yourself. Always be true to yourself and be who you are, because we want to know you. We don't want to know somebody that you have created for us. Always be true to your abilities and tell us what you have done, what you can do. We are always listening. We are always ready to hire you, and don't think too much. It's just a conversation. Treat it as one.
Yeah, I think Sachin has one last question. Do we hire React Native freshers? Yes.
Well, we were.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Digvijay, I think you summed it up really well. I really like how you summarized each and every point. After me and Atul spoke paragraphs, you summarized it in one lines. So thank you so much. I think thank you. A huge thanks to the CSE department, Rupa ma'am, Krishna sir, and all of them. Yeah, this was the first time I was speaking to the students, and I love it. I hope we meet in person on in the SJBIT auditorium, and let's see.
Well, we hope that happens. Atul?
Right, yeah. Again, I would like to thank everyone. I mean, for being a patient listener with us. And again, thank you. Thanks to all the college faculties for having us here. And it was really enjoyable, and it was really a journey back in the memory that we had during our college days. So again, thanks a lot.
Well, of course, it's really nostalgic for all of you. But I would also like to extend my thank you to the university and the faculty for inviting us all of here for this session. I really hope that the students who are watching us have benefited from it, have learned a few things, and would work towards them to be better with their interviews and be better overall with their personalities. Also, I'd like to thank you guys for taking out the time and addressing the students here. I believe that this has been really insightful, really helpful, and we should look to do more sessions like this that can help the students.
For sure.
I'm really excited. Also, I'm going to take a quick second here. All the students, if you want to know more about GeekyAnts, if you want to know more about the kind of work we do in our technologies, we have a Flutter meetup coming up this Saturday, live on the GeekyAnts YouTube channel. So make sure to follow us on Twitter and get all the information so you can join in and get to know more about what GeekyAnts is and the kind of work that we do. With that, thank you very much. Thank you for having us. I think Chaitra ma'am has something to say, so I'd like to invite her on the stream as well now.
Yes, sir.
Chaitra ma'am, welcome back. We have missed you.
I'm there with you. Yes, sir. As we have come to the end of the webinar, we, the organizing team, myself, Chaitra HK, Rupa MJ, and Chaitra M, would sincerely thank Pujya Mahaswamijis for their blessings, and our heartfelt thanks to our leader, Dr. Puttaraju sir, Principal, SJB Institute of Technology, for giving us this opportunity to organize this webinar. Our sincere thanks to key speakers, Mr. Sanket Sahu, Mr. Atul Ranjan, and Mr. Digvijay Wanchoo for accepting our invitation for conducting this webinar. We would like to thank our HOD, Dr. Krishna AN, and Professor Umesh V for being with us in this webinar. We would like to thank all the participants, and also now I would like to wind up this webinar with this quote. Good things come to people who wait, but better things come to those who go out and get them. So students, never give up, work hard to get better in your life. Thank you all, and the feedback link is shared in the chat box. Kindly provide your valuable feedback. Have a nice day.